Board. The Board of Education plays a sizable role in the community, and the decisions they make impact us as students here in Kearney School District. Although many students cannot vote, we are determined and eager to be a part of the process to learn about some of the candidates running for these positions. We would like to thank all of the candidates here tonight. All board members donate their time to make decisions for our school community, and we are grateful for all they have done for our district and all they will do for our district. Heidi Everhart will begin by reviewing the format for tonight's program.
Hello, my name is Heidi Everhart. I do theater here at Kearney High School and I'm a senior. I'm currently dressed like this because I'm at a dress rehearsal for the play, so I don't always look like this. This program will consist of opening statements for each candidate and a series of questions for the candidates. The purpose of this format is to allow the candidates to comment on areas of interest for those in our student body and for the citizens of Kearney. This program has not been designed for audience-generated questions or for the candidates to engage in dialogue with one another. Instead, our goal is to provide a forum for candidates to clarify their positions on a number of key educational issues and for audience members to listen carefully. We ask each candidate to remain respectful of moderators and other candidates. Candidates must only respond when directed to do so by student moderators. All candidate responses will be timed, and you will be limited to 90 seconds for your response. Each candidate will have an opportunity to respond to each question. We ask the audience in attendance to remain respectful and remind each member of the audience to refrain from participation and engagement in candidate responses and student moderated questions. No new questions will be asked after 7:30 p.m. However, all candidates will be able to respond to the current question. The order of speaking will begin with Mr. Bowers and will move on left to right from the candidates. This is the order that we will follow for the remainder of tonight. Each candidate will have 1.5 minutes to answer each question. However, we will start by allowing each candidate 3 minutes to deliver an introductory speech, addressing the prompt, "Why are you seeking a seat on the Board of Education for the Kearney School District?" Mr. Bowers, the time is yours.
Thank you, and thank you everybody for coming out and giving us your time tonight. My name is Aaron Bowers. I'm probably one of the least known members up here on here, but I'm going to give you a little background about me first. I grew up in Kearney, lived just a few blocks over here in Southbrook. Had a good upbringing. My dad and stepmom are out there. I want to be on the board because we came to Kearney based on wanting our children to be in this school district. Heard great things about it. Came back after living in Liberty for a while and really like this town. Seems like over the last few years, things have kind of not been as smooth as they were before, and I feel like the parents' voice has sort of been lost in transition. A lot of things that a lot of us feel are important were kind of put on the back burner the last few years. I just think that I care about my children's school, and I think that I would care about everyone's children getting a good education, a safe place to learn, and everyone treated equally. And I just think that this is something that I felt like I wanted to do, considering how I felt at the time that the parents were being treated. So that's why I'd like to run for school board.
Hi, I'm Rocky Brock. I'm married. I've got 5 children. I've had kids in the school district since 1997 continuously, so that says something for me. I'm a consumer of the school district. I would say I decided to run for the board because for the longest time, I think a lot of times boards, whether it's Clay County Health Department or school boards, a lot of times we don't even recognize them or know what's going on until it affects our lives. And so over the last couple of years with COVID, it's affected our lives to the point where I decided that I needed to be a part of the decisions and try to make decisions. I want to make as Aaron said, I want to be a voice for the parents to allow the freedom of choice and transparency between the board and parents and the staff, administration. I felt like over the last couple years, some of the school boards, some of the meetings, because the parents maybe haven't felt heard, they've gotten out of control, they've lacked humility and kindness. I'd like to restore some of that. I'd like to be a voice of reason, listening to everybody, even if it's a difference of opinion, to learn from those differences of opinions and still be respectful toward one another. I think that's one of the things, not just our board, but the entire country has kind of come upon over the last couple of years. I want to improve the relationship between the parents and the school board, eliminate any conflicts of interest, and listen and communicate with students, teachers, parents, and administration as well. I still believe that Kearney is one of the best school districts in the state of Missouri. I think this community is one of the best. I've lived here 33 years. I moved here when I was 25, so this place has become home, and I still believe it's one of the best communities in the state of Missouri to live in. And we moved here 33 years ago because of the school district. We felt it was one of the best in the state, and I want to just do what I can to make that a reality again. So.
Hello. My name's Leonard Broughton. Just a little background on me. I've been here 12 years, so I'm kind of an outsider to the ones that have lived here in Kearney. I moved my family here 12 years ago from Ohio. My wife, Kelly, Brock, Mitchell, and Adriana. Adriana and Kelly both work in the, well, my wife Kelly did work in the school system. Adriana does work in the school system, and Brock has a teaching degree, but he's not in Kearney school system right now. I moved my kids here, and I let my boys decide where they were going to go to school. We looked at many different schools, and they chose Kearney, and I was very happy with that decision. I was a big fan of Coach Jones because my boys were very involved in sports, and I thought he brought across discipline and things that my boys would need outside of football and would make them great young men, which they have become today. The reason I'm running for the school board is because, you know, for the last 6 years, I was watching my youngest son, Brock, play college football and kind of fell from what was going on in the schools. In the last couple years, I've kind of been paying attention and going to board meetings and seeing many different things happening and just listening to the community speak and talk and disappointment with things that are happening. And I just thought, I want to give back to this great community that opened their arms to my family when I moved here 12 years ago. That was very important to me to be accepted, and Kearney opened their arms and accepted my family and, you know, took us in. And I just want to be like a bridge. I want to be a bridge for the parents, the students, and the staff, and to make sure that they always know they have someone here that's going to be transparent, that's going to be accountable for the decision that he makes, and will always give an answer for the decisions that he makes. And I just want them to know that I'm going to be there for them 24/7. And I just want to bring, like Rocky said, and I just want to bring this school system and hold this school system to an excellence and make sure that we're doing that at all levels. And I just think it's important that we just focus on getting the school back to where it needs to be. And that's a great school that Kearney is.
Thank you. Hi, my name is Meredith Cole. Why do I want to run for school board? I retired 2 years ago, went on spring break, and the pandemic hit, and I never went back. I figured that running for the school board would be a great way for me to stay connected to the kids. I spent 3 decades teaching in Kearney as an art teacher. I have volunteered here in Kearney as an Optimist Club member. For those of you who aren't familiar with the Optimist Club, it serves the youth of the community. They've done things that range from building the playground out at the Northland Park to, let's say we have a child in school who needs a pair of glasses. We'll pay for those glasses. Anything we can do, and all funds go to helping the youth in our community. I've been a Girl Scout leader, a soccer coach. I'm currently a CASA which is for the Clay County. I work with foster kids when they go into the system, and I report to the judge how they're doing in their situations. Volunteering has always been a part of my life, and I respect people who are willing to step up and volunteer their time to serve the community. I've attended a few school board meetings recently. I too, just like Rocky, hope that we can build bridges, restore civility, respect those who are volunteering their time to serve our community.
Is this on? Can you guys hear me? First off, I'm going to go ahead and be the person to do it. Abram and Heidi, this is amazing. This is why I'm proud to be a Bulldog, is because of student-led activities like this. For me personally, I mean, I think you guys, I was telling Abram before, basically, that I've done this before, and it was done by the paper. So for our students to step up, I mean, today's a proud day to be a Bulldog. So I want to thank you guys both for doing this today. So why I'm running. So my story's a little bit, I'll make it quick, but 6 years ago, well actually 8 years ago, my oldest son passed away from cancer, and I was looking for a way to give back. And Mike Miller, who was the then sitting board president, came up to me and said, "Hey John, what you think about running for school board?" And I thought, this is why I'm going to do this, because this is a way to be a servant leader. And that is the #1 goal in my eyes, as been serving on the board for the last 6 years, is to serve the teachers, to serve the administrators, to serve the parents, to serve the students. And we have, and I think that that's an important part of why I'm running again, is because I think that there is still an opportunity to continue to serve all aspects of this community. And I do think Kearney is a great school. I still think that this is a destination that people want to move to bring their kids and to be educated. And I think that that's sometimes, because of the last 2 years of the pandemic, that can get lost. And I think that we're not the only ones that have had to deal with the pandemic. I think we all have. And I think that that's the things that we have to remember, is that this is a great school. This has got great teachers in it. It's got great administrators in it. And I love being able to be a servant leader for them, because it's something that my oldest son did. I have a book that he had from when he was in kindergarten at Dogwood, and his friends, after he passed, all had pages, and they all said, "John Luke helped me. John Luke helped me." And so for me, it was very personal that I said, I can't extend his legacy, but I can make my legacy similar to his. And so that's why I think it's important that I continue on this path of being a servant leader for the school board. I also invested in this area. I didn't really talk about my past, other than I have been born and raised in Kearney. I actually started in Holt, kindergarten and first grade, but finished up in Kearney. And I have a 4th grader and a 1st grader at Southview, and I feel that I'm very accountable to them and the decisions I make for the school district and the culture that I provide.
Hello. Again, I also wanted to say thank you for putting this on tonight. I think that it is a great way to involve the kids and the students, and to give you a glimpse of what adult life is, and making decisions, and how to choose and how to make those decisions. So I'm very grateful that you guys put this on tonight. To answer the question why I decided to run, you kind of have to look back at who I am and where I've come from. I was born and raised in northern Utah, and my parents were huge, very involved in the community, and instilled that in me and my siblings. And then for 23 years, I followed my husband wherever the Army told us we got to live. And at all of these different places, I always tried to find a way to be involved. I've worked on boards, I've been in committees, we worked with community organizations, doing everything from supporting military families through and after deployments, being in mothers groups, being a youth mentor, planning things like a family fun day. But one thing that I've done at every location where we've ever lived was been involved in the schools. Since the day that my oldest started kindergarten, which was over 20 years ago, I have been working one-on-one with teachers and kids in the classrooms. I still have 5 more years until my youngest graduates, and after elementary school, it's harder to be volunteering in the education system. And I thought, well, what can I do? And so as I thought about it, I thought, well, the next thing is to move up the ladder and to go and try out for the school board. So with my focus on the importance of education and being involved in the community, I thought it would be a good fit. I too have seen struggles over the last 2 years. Watching my own children go through a pandemic has not been easy. Watching other adults handle things that they've never handled before. And some of the communication has not been smooth. And that has been frustrating to me. And I would like to help with that. So after praying about it and saying, God, is this what you want me to do? And feeling that this is what I should do, I signed my name and decided to run for school board.
From here out, the questions, you have 1.5 minutes starting now. The first question for Mr. Bowers is, where do you see Kearney School District in 5 years, and what goals do you have for the district? Mr. Bowers, the time is yours.
Well, in 5 years, I think that this is actually a really great district. The foundation is solid. I feel like the schools are really well put together. Staff is amazing from top to bottom. We've got a really great setup. I mean, in 5 years, honestly, thinking about it, I know that on the ballot is to update this theater. I would like to see an expansion of the arts programs. I think that would be a big plus for the district. Lots of kids are kind of getting into that now. I know sports are always going to be number one around here. Huge football town. My 10-year-old is in the Kearney football program. So obviously I want to keep seeing progression in academics, progression in sports. Hopefully the new coach is going to bring some more W's next year. And, just keep seeing this town, or keep seeing this school district grow and prosper in a positive manner.
I think Kearney's going to continue to grow, obviously with the additional building permits that were at the city level this year, and there's new developments going in. So, I mean, continuing to grow the schools, also getting our district back to being one of the top in the state. We're always toward the top anyway, but just continuing that tradition, I guess. Some of the things that I think that the schools have done really, really well as the individual learning processes, some of the real world learning with market value assets for some of the kids that may not go to college, may not go to a four-year college, but may want to go to a trade school. I think some of those things that we do from an individualized learning perspective has been phenomenal, and I think we need to continue those things. I also think the growth we need to manage, we need to stay ahead of. We're not going to be able to catch up as Kearney continues to grow. We're not going to be able to build a school in a year. So we're going to have to stay ahead of it. If we need another elementary school, we're going to have to be far enough ahead of it with funds and with teachers. And that won't be easy. It's going to be a difficult process to continue to attract some of the best teachers in the state. And we've done pretty well at that. I think we've lost a little ground, but we need to continue to focus on bringing great teachers here.
I think you're going to hear a lot of echoes of probably the same feelings and same thoughts from each and every one of us. I think keeping teachers here and recruiting and getting teachers that want to come here is very important, because I think that we can have many opportunities in many different programs. And like Rocky said, I love the real world learning, and I love the STEM programs that we have here. We're allowing our kids to go outside, of possibly saying, I need to go to college because my friends are going to college, and finding out what they want to do in life and become an adult and possibly further in college through World War Learning, like I said, with something they went into there to try, or trade. I think trades are very important. As you can see, we have a lack of trades. But I think more programs, making sure we have programs that the kids are interested in, like was stated before, is very important. And like we have this bond coming up, we're going to have improvements, keep improving, keep staying ahead, and making sure we can house the many new students that may come into this community, because there will be growth. I feel people will move out to Kearney because they're going to see Kearney as one of the top schools in the Missouri state, and that's very important.
Before I talk about 5 years ahead, I want to take you back just a little bit. When my family moved to Kearney, the biggest surprise for me was to look out my window at the middle school, which is now Hawthorne. I was in 6th grade, and across the street were cows. And coming from Kansas City, that was a bit of a shock. Later on, after I became a teacher, I was split between Kearney and Holt. I loved working at Holt Elementary, and shout out to the mayor. I had him as a student. Hi, Randy. But just imagine doing art on a cart, which I did, until the cart hit a bump, and I spilled paint in the front lobby, and then I got my own room. My sink, however, drained into a bucket. And so at night, after we were all done painting, I would take the bucket outside and empty it. But I was grateful. I was grateful to have a sink. By the time I retired, I had a premium classroom with 4 sinks. So I went from the bucket to 4 sinks. So progress. And I applaud the people who've come before us, like Dick Lagerwell, Dr. Belcher, Jeff Morrison, who had the foresight to see the growth that was going to happen. And I think we have that in place here. In 5 years, I think we're going to have a new elementary school. I hope so. I hope Prop B passes.
Alrighty, Mrs. Cole, that is your time.
Oh, sorry.
My 5-year plan involves a lot of different things, but it starts with the bond. The bond is very important for us to stay ahead of the growth. Previous bonds have been, previous boards have been very good and very strategic in how we spend our money. And so for us to have this opportunity to do this with a no tax increase, which is huge, is a very big step for our 5-year plan, because it'll take 3 to 5 years to build that elementary school. As well as there's a little bit of talk about market value assets. I think that the real world learning initiative, K through 12, is a really big piece that we need to continue to work on, and we need to continue to work with our elementary schools, that all of our new elementaries, if we pass this bond, will have all our elementaries with the opportunity to have real world learning opportunities in the building. And I think that that's an important piece. I also think that our teachers have the longest tenure amongst our peer group, and that the next wave of teachers are coming. And I think to be competitive, we've got to continue to think about ways to pay them, as well as we need to be able to train them with our teachers that have the longer tenure, to teach them about our curriculum and about what we need to be teaching, so that we can continue to be a top 5 in our peer group in ELA, math, civics, and science. And I think that those are just a couple of them. I could go farther and talk about more things, but I'll just say that's the start.
Thank you. First of all, the bond is huge. To be able to get ahead of the growth that is happening. If you go on Zillow and look for a house right now, you will not find one that's not pending. Everything is selling and being built. And so we need to stay ahead of that curve. I feel like I'm a broken record here. We need to keep and retain teachers and get the best teachers out there so that we can have the best students. The Real Life Learning Program that's being instigated is great for every type of kid. I have all different types of kids myself. I have the athlete, I have the artist, I have the self-proclaimed band math nerd, and to be able to have programs that works for each and every one of those is great. You asked what goals also. I would like to see more electives and see more of those types of different little niches that we can add, and maybe other languages as well.
For this next question, we're going to start with Mr. Brock and then make our way back around. What do you think is the biggest issue or the biggest need in Kearney schools currently?
I think, I'm going to sound like a broken record, but I think staying ahead of growth, the school district's going to continue to grow. We've seen Liberty expand to two high schools and continue to grow. The growth is going to continue to come north on I-35, and I think staying ahead of the growth versus being reactive is going to be important. I don't know that I can come up with a lot of other concerns, I guess, with the school district currently. Maybe I could talk a little bit about compensation for teachers and how we can stay competitive in that situation. I think we've lost some teachers over the last few years to some other districts like Excelsior Springs and others that are paying more. And I don't know, not being on the board and seeing the budget and knowing how to compensate those folks, I don't know how you do that. I know you can't do it with funds that aren't sustainable every year. So, but I think that's going to be important that we find a way to continue to be competitive and track the best teachers in the state if we're going to stay top of the state with grades and also with test scores and ELA being top 5.
Issues and needs. I think I would have to agree that I think we have to look at the classroom sizes and make sure teachers aren't overwhelmed in the classrooms, and make sure we have proper help in there with the teachers if they need that help, and figure out a way that we can make those sizes work. And along with what Rocky says, we need to keep these teachers here. I've heard we've lost quite a few teachers. We need to compensate them and figure out a way to do that. And I think that needs to be number one issue that needs to happen when we have the funds and are able to do that. And building, we need to make sure we can house these kids. And like I said, it's staying ahead of that curve and making sure we're not putting the cart in front of the horse. Make sure we got the whole package and make sure everyone understands what's going on when we go to do something, and being transparent and being accountable when decisions don't go right. Make sure the community knows what's happening, why it's happening, and here's what we're looking to do, and we need your help. Because this school is not going to move forward unless we have this community to back this school. So we need to be transparent and make sure we let this community know what's happening and why it's happening, like I said, and just continue to move forward and work hard. And
I would reiterate what both of these gentlemen just said. Growth is a huge issue. My own neighborhood, we're getting ready to see an influx of houses come in. So the passing of Prop B is essential. I can attest to being a teacher that if you have more than 20-something kids in the room at the same time and everyone's asking questions, it can be overwhelming. And we need to value our teachers, make them feel how special they are, how important they are. I think that's so important for all of us. I think parents have been supportive, and keep those lines of communications open, not only between the parents and the schools, but the district as well. I would like to see an inclusive culture. I would like to see everyone feel welcome in Kearney, regardless of who they are or where they came from, if they've been here for 20 years or if they've been here for 2. Thank you.
I think the biggest need is a strong superintendent, which I think we've taken care of, and she starts in July. That's the first thing that I think that this district is in dire need of, and I think that we've got that person in Dr. Emily Miller. So I'm so excited that she's coming on board. The other thing that I think that we can work on is fully funding our health plan deductibles for our staff. And we're the only one in our peer group that doesn't do that, and I think that that's something that we can work towards. I also think that we talk about pay increases. The State of the State address for Missouri, they talked about raising the minimum wage, the minimum payment or salary schedule for first-year teachers, and it had large bipartisan support. And, hopefully that we can get those gentlemen and ladies to pass that, which will, then give us more funding to be able to give to teachers. And that's what I see as the biggest issue and the biggest need.
The biggest issue that I see is growth. Again, every house there's so much growth going on, and it's just going to continue. I'm an example of that. I'm a transplant and there's people moving in every day. You drive and you see another moving truck. Supporting our teachers and giving them what they need so that we can keep the good ones and keep the teachers that are doing a good job and that are helping our kids. I also see that we need to work with the community. You can't say this, we want this money, we want this money, we want this bond without explaining it and saying this is what we're going to do with it. That's one of the things I love about the bond is when I went to the website and looked at it, I was like, oh, they're going to do this for this school and this for this school and this for this school. And the fact that they took into consideration everybody. It wasn't just, oh, let's build a new school, but it's things like update this room, which is in dire need of updating. That's the issue, guys.
All right, well, things that I think we need to improve on first and foremost would be the school board itself. That's why the five of us are here. Mr. Kern is rerunning. I think we need to get a solid foundation there. Obviously, then the superintendent falls in with that. Another issue, I have friends who are teachers, and I fully support that the teachers in this district have done an amazing job in the last few years dealing with things teachers never thought they would have to deal with. I know the board probably isn't in charge of their pay, but I would love to see teachers get better pay, better benefits through our district. I also would say maintenance. I've had pictures sent to me of school buildings that have cracks in the walls that are big enough to see through into the next room, held together just with a little piece of metal. That doesn't seem safe to me to have kids in rooms that bad. I was in the junior high a few weeks ago. Ceilings are a mess with the leaks. I know that they're going to do the roofs, which is a great thing, but maintenance is a big deal. And I would also say safety. I know there was a few drug issues over the past year. Bullying is a problem in this district. I just think that there are some deep-rooted problems that we really need to dig in and get figured out pretty quickly.
This next question, we will start with Mr. Broughton. Sorry about that. The question is, do you support Proposition B? If so, what part do you believe is most important? Do you think the environment in which children learn affects how they learn? And if you don't support it, what do you think should be done as an alternative?
I am in support of the bond as long as we're transparent with everything that's going to happen with the bond. I have a feeling that we lack some information that when we state we're going to do upgrades and fix, and then we state we're going to build a new facility, along with that comes staffing that facility, which is a good problem. And along with that is keeping and maintaining the things that we update, which is, again, a good problem. But I think we need to be transparent. Is there a levy coming after that bond to make sure we can finance and fund the things we just did? I don't think we've stated that. I struggle that we haven't stated that. But I think if we can do all that and the community votes yes, then we're being transparent to everything, the full package. That's why I'm saying don't put the cart in front of the horse. But if I'm wrong, I'm fine, and I will admit that I was wrong with that. If we can build a new facility and we can fix everything and maintain it at the money that we have coming in through taxpayers now, like I said, I would admit that I'm wrong. But I think if we can do this bond, I think it'd be great for the children, the kids, the students, and I think that just helps create better learning. But I just want to make sure we're being fully transparent on everything that's being done.
I support the bond fully. I think a new building is essential, like I said before, to keeping class sizes smaller. I also am excited about HVAC repairs slated for every building. And this theater that we're in today, that was built 30 years ago, I guess that the theater group has requested sound systems that need to be improved. I'm not sure if it'll include lighting, but I know chairs, seating is a big one. And as everyone knows, I'm an advocate for the arts. So I support Prop B 100%.
I'm a yes for Prop B. The smaller class sizes at the elementary that we get to add will also help with teacher retention, because when you have classes that are smaller, teachers tend to like that and they like to stick around. That's one of the things that's made Kearney great for so many years, and why everybody seems to love Kearney is because we have that smaller class size and that teacher retention comes along with that. The other things, obviously we're sitting in the theater. Those seats you're sitting in are 30 years old. I'd like to know anybody that has a couch that they still sit on that's 30 years old, because we could be friends. There's some definite upgrades that are needed with our district. So I think that yes. I also think that the thing that you have to remember is in 2017, we passed a $27 million no tax increase bond. And behind that was no levy increase. And now we're asking for $44 million with a no tax increase bond. And so I would say that our history may speak for itself, but I just want to make sure everybody understands that this isn't one and here comes the next. The thing that the district really is trying to do is to offer teachers and our kiddos the best learning experience possible.
I also am definitely for the Proposition B. Building a new school, help stay ahead of the growth, and then also doing the maintenance and the upkeep and the upgrades at all of the different schools so that the money is spent around. It's not all in one spot. I think that that's big. The other question that was asked was, how does the environment affect kids? The environment's always going to affect kids. You look outside on a cold, rainy day like today, and I'm sure the kids were not that much fun to be in class today because they didn't want to be there because it was cold and wet and rainy. And the things around them affect that also. How many kids are in the classroom affect that. So by doing Proposition B and having the money, it would allow for a better environment and a healthier, safer environment for our kids.
If anyone reads the Courier, you'll know that I was the only one to say no when first asked this question. I want to be on Mr. Broughton's point here of transparency. When you say no tax, that's not exactly the way it works. If the current bond were to expire, your taxes would go down 1.2, 1.3%. So it's not tax-free. You just agree to keep paying the tax that you're already paying. I agree that the classroom sizes in a few of our schools are getting snug, but on the flip side, there's a school that is pretty well under the recommended average size of classrooms. So I think if we took a look at the zoning for the elementary schools, we could find a cheaper answer to getting smaller classrooms. I know that's not a long-term answer because obviously Kearney is booming. Houses are going up every day, but to say the projection is we're going to gain 3% every year of what we currently have, that's minimal gains in the short term. So I think there are other avenues that we could pursue now and maybe push off this giant sum of $44 million right now.
So I'm really going to sound like a broken record now, because I also support Proposition B. I think I'll keep saying the same thing with the permits and the new subdivisions that are coming to town. I think we have to continue to reduce or be ready to absorb the growth Also continue to make sure we have smaller class sizes to retain teachers, which John mentioned. I think Lynn is right, though. I think we've got to be transparent with what we're doing with the money and make sure that the community knows, exactly where it's going, which, from what I've read, most of it does lay out. As long as we've got budget for the staffing of the new elementary school when that time comes, I think that's going to be important. I think one of the things that could help as well with growth would be to grow businesses. I mean, sales tax dollars in Kearney, how many of us go to Liberty and shop? I think having more businesses in Kearney would help to grow our tax base, which would also help put more money back to the schools and support the schools through the growth. So, but I am in support of the bond.
For this next question, we will start with Mrs. Cole and make our way down. What kind of plan or plans do you have on implementing policies that will encourage diversity, discourage prejudice, and protect minorities at Kearney School District?
I think first I'd lead by example. I attended one of the current DEI meetings. My daughter Sydney is a teacher in Liberty, but she's also has attended those meetings. I do everything I could to encourage welcoming everyone to our district, regardless of their background. It's something I believe in passionately, and I'm sorry I say a lot. As far as policy goes, I think that's something I'd have to study a little bit to find out how those policies are implemented at the school board level, because it's not something I'm familiar with, but it's certainly something I can learn about and I would be happy to participate in.
Well, the great thing about our policies is a lot of the things that you talk about with diversity are actually included in our policies. So if we have a bullying problem or we have a issue with someone being imposed upon, we actually have a policy. AC policy is the actual policy if you wanted to go read it for some good night reading. And so I think that we have the policies in place. What we need to continue to work on is we need to continue to work on implementing them with our staff and making sure that administrators, teachers, as well as students understand that these aren't suggestions, these are the rules of the law. And that's what we want to make sure is that every child has that opportunity to be educated equally and not to create stereotypes and not to create us versus them mentalities. And so I think that's the best way is to just work on the policies we have and make sure that everybody understands how they read.
Thank you. As more and more people move in, we're all going to be a little bit more diverse. And knowing that and accepting that starts at the top. When the leaders say, I don't care what color you are, skin color you have, I don't care what your background is, I don't care where you came from, I'm going to treat you exactly the same as I treat the next person, and being that example, and then that filters down through the system so that when kids see other teachers showing respect, they're going to show respect. When they see teachers following the policies that are in place. There is also a diversity program that is being developed right now that, as I have learned a little bit about it, I'm excited to see how it gets unfolded, but I am looking forward to that as well.
So I work with a lady. They moved here from Colorado. She's Mexican, and her daughter is a student here. We had a talk this week that her daughter has been racially bullied in the school. She doesn't like it. She's moving back to Colorado because of it. So it's hard to talk about, but I really think that we have to do better in certain aspects of letting our kids know that there's a right and a wrong way to treat everybody. Skin color doesn't matter. Background doesn't matter. Religion doesn't matter. you treat people the way you want to be treated. I would like to see, kids, they don't want to be the snitch or, rat on their friends when they see people doing bad things. But I really want to get a message out there that if you see something bad happening, and you really have to say something. It's hard to fight a problem when you can't pinpoint the problem. So I would like to, as I've got kids in the district. I would like to ask the parents to also be vigilant. These things happen online. They happen, in places that should be able to spot them. So I do see a way that we can fight or to add diversity to our school district.
I would say that some of the policies we already have for diversity, equality, inclusion are steps in the right direction. I think it starts at the home. I mean, I think how we treat people as parents is extremely important. I think our kids will learn from us as to how we treat people. And if we're inclusive, then I think our children will be inclusive. But I think it has to start at home. And also, it's not, I don't put it on the staff or the administration, but it needs to be kind of backed up there as well. But I think it's our responsibility as parents to make sure that we are inclusive and we are accepting. And I think it starts there. I mean, I don't think it's the school's responsibility to teach my child that. I think it's my responsibility to teach my child that. And I think, to be welcoming to everybody, I think it's important. Kearney's going to continue to become more and more diverse as people move further and further from the city. And so I think it's just going to be important that we start at home. We need to be good role models and be good examples for our kids. And I think that's going to make the biggest impact.
I do agree that policy is, I love to hear that we have policy, and as long as we make sure that we're following that policy. And also here at Kearney, I think we're taking extra steps. My wife and I, we're on the DEI task force, and I'm glad we took that step and got on that task force because of the fact I see being in that meeting, there's parents in there, there's administration in there, there's teachers in there that are concerned, and they want to make sure these students are safe and there's no bullying that's happening, and no matter what race or nationality that they are. And I believe you're going to see a campaign that's going to be rolled out really soon, and we want to reach the community. And it's like Rocky said, it starts at home. So we're going to, and I think we stated in our last meeting that we did have, it starts from the top down, like that was said also down the table here. Getting all the, the superintendent to buy in, the assistant superintendents, the principals, assistant principals, the counselors, the leadership groups that we have in the schools, and just showing respect and kindness. Those are the words we're going to be using, along with many different other words that the group that we have came together and created this picture that's going to have words on there. And it's very important that we get this campaign out, and I think it's very important that we show that we are going to be different, and if your child comes to Kearney, they're going to feel safe.
For this next question, we will start with Mr. Kern. The question is, there are many other schools in our area that have many different elective opportunities for those who are interested in a variety of different careers. However, in this district, the options are very limited. How would you be willing to broaden students' horizons and help them find their spark, allowing them a more variety of different electives?
So through our real world learning initiative, we are continuing to grow. We're continuing to grow, and we're continuing to shrink that gap with different opportunities, not just with Northland CAPS or Beyond KSD. But I think the Beyond KSD part is probably an elective that would help the students have more opportunities. And I think that the other thing that we have to continue to work on is our offerings in our classroom as well, and add some more electives that will help kids go into mechanical, which will help kids go into plumbing, which help kids go into different career paths. And so I think that if we continue to focus on the real world learning, the market value assets, I think those are the ways that we can continue to bridge that gap amongst our peer group schools.
Now I'm going to sound like a broken record again. The real world learning is a huge way to find the little niche for each kid. There's already a lot of programs in our school that I was surprised when I moved in. When I found out that there was a robotics class in 7th grade, I thought, great, let's continue that, let's add to it. As I've talked to different principals, especially the junior high principal, he said, I don't have enough art, I can't offer art to all the kids that want art because I don't have an art teacher that isn't bouncing back and forth between the high school and the 9th graders at the junior high. We need to add those teachers so that those little niches can be added. Every teacher has their fun little passion on the side. Well, let's knock into those and tap into those and allow them to teach them not just their core main class that they teach, but if they want to do a chess club or a chess class, let's encourage those as well.
Yep, I totally agree with the whole real-world learning program. It's a great thing to tap into a child's, I don't even know how to say really, what they're passionate about, what they could see themselves, what they enjoy doing. I think we could add more trade-focused classes. I'm not up to speed on what exactly is offered right now, but I just, my experience growing up, I love tinkering with cars and doing stuff like that. So finding things that kids enjoy and could have a future in is a huge step in education and seeing them get to be who they want to be in life and preserving them a good spot in their future.
So, real-world learning, market value assets, we're all going to say the same things. I would say I think we need to look to the students to empower them to come to us with ideas if we're on the board. One of the things I was blown away the other day by was talking to a gentleman at Wichita State University, and this was just before COVID, and they actually have a gaming major. I don't want my son Kevin to know that, but I didn't realize you could go to college and become a gaming expert, and they were actually opening gaming cafes just before COVID hit. So they put that on hold. But my point is, I think there's a career there in whether it's coding or programming for games, but there's a lot of things I think we can do, and I think supporting the students to bring ideas and getting behind those ideas with, and even reach out to the community. There's probably people in the community that can provide internships for different types of, whether it's trades, gaming, coding, computer programming, whatever it might be. But I think it's really empowerment for the kids. Look to them, let them bring us ideas, and then support the ideas.
I totally agree with Rocky. I think when John said real-world learning K through 12, I think that would be huge if we can get that all the way through kindergarten through a senior. But I also, what Rocky said, and this is what I kind of wrote down, the board and as a board members, we take the time to meet with the students, if it's either two going to different grade levels, and see what their interests are, and see what we're lacking here at Kearney, and see if we can make that available for them. I think that's the most important thing, is to listen to the children. Listen to the kids, listen to the students, make sure they know that we're here, we're listening, and get back with them with the answers that we find out, good or bad. Just be, like I'm going to say, transparent, and let them know we're working hard to provide a building for them that will offer them many different things. But real-world learning is huge. Like I said, we came from Ohio. That was already happening there. And so when I kind of first started seeing this happen at the couple board meetings I was just at, I said, this is going to be humongous for Kearney, able to have that opportunity.
I think one thing that the pandemic has showed us is that kids are eager to do hands-on or have hands-on activities. Project-based learning provides those kind of opportunities, and I'm all about that. I'd like to see, this is just a dream, but I'd like to see strings added in the music program. That is one opportunity that kids in Liberty have, for example, that Kearney kids don't. I think staying up to date on technology, offering classes in graphic arts, programming, coding, like Mr. Brock said, is important. I do have an idea that may encourage teachers, if we value teachers and compensate them, to sponsor more after-school clubs and these kind of activities. I think that would be great.
With this next question, we will start with Mrs. Mack. There have been many issues in society today regarding censorship for our children, especially in books. What is your stance on censorship in school libraries? Does it overall help them or hurt them for the future?
This has been a very touchy topic. What gets censored and what doesn't? As I have looked at different things that have been brought up in other school boards across the country, and I look at it and I say, you really want to put that in a school library? It surprises me that books are out there. I do not believe that anything over sexualization or pornography should be in a school library. I'm not saying ban them everywhere. You want to go to the public library, that's different. But in a school library, those should not be there. In regards to banning books that are our history, I am against that. We need to keep those books in our schools. Things like To Kill a Mockingjay, or not, that's wrong, Mockingbird, sorry. We need those we need that history, and we need to keep those books there. But books that are over sexualization and pornography should not be in our schools.
I am on the exact same page as Mrs. Mack. I think that books should be looked at different levels, though. Obviously, a high school aged child is going to be able to interpret how a book is much better than a junior high student. So I feel like books should be appropriate to the age that we are allowing to read them. Like she said, the stuff that is over sexualized and borderline pornography, you know, that's, to me, that is out of bounds. I don't see a positive thing for a mind that is trying to be molded into something, you know, a genuine person, to the need to read stuff like that. But I think that, you know, books should definitely be held to different levels, you know, obviously through the different elementary, junior high, high school. But yeah, for as far as banning historical books, definitely not. Our history is our history, good, bad, indifferent. It is what it is, and it should be taught the way that it was.
I would agree exactly with what both of them said. I think we should continue to evaluate the library books for all ages, and we should make sure that everything is age appropriate. I think if I'm comfortable reading that book with my child, whatever age that child is, that should be my judge, the judge of whether that should be in the library or not. Some of the books that have been read at different school board meetings across the state and the country, I would not be comfortable sitting down and reading some of those books that were read at school board meetings with my children. I would be a little embarrassed to read it by myself, to be frank with you. So I think we need to continue to evaluate that. As far as history books are concerned, I agree with Aaron and with Lydia. I think our history is our history. I think not all of it's good and not all of it's bad. And I think we need to use it as a learning experience to teach what was bad and what was, you know, what we need to learn from our history. I don't think we need to erase it. It happened, but we need to continue to teach our kids, you know, what our forefathers did wrong and what they did well.
I think you're going to hear the same answer here that you heard from the others. I'm for the history books. That's why we're able to do what we're doing today, the freedoms that we have in this country. And we're able to be here and assemble and discuss different things that are going on in the Kearney school system. But sexual and pornography books should not be in the school system. And the nice thing, I was able to check this Kearney libraries through a certain website that we have, and Kearney does a really good job of keeping those books out of the different libraries that we have here. But I think we need to keep monitoring that and make sure we keep an eye on what is coming in and what is being given to our kids.
I think we should trust the librarians. They're professionals who make good choices, and they're going to make choices based on grade levels and subject. And that's why we hire them. Just like hiring a good superintendent, we hire quality librarians. Reading teaches empathy. Reading allows kids to learn about other cultures and show that empathy to others and create a inclusive environment that we all desire. So I trust the librarians.
I think that go one step up too from Meredith is to trust our curriculum providers. I wrote in the Courier Tribune, how are we to decide what is historically accurate and inappropriate? Who's the judge of those? Does a seven-person board have that right to decide which books are accurate and which ones are not? I think that you can get into an equality issue when you get into some of those. Obviously, the age appropriate would be to trust and put policies in place for our administrators so that they know kind of where they can go and where they shouldn't go. To that over-sexualization, if you wanted to go that route, where we basically don't have that in Kearney. So I'm going to go ahead and make sure everyone understands, to Lynn's point, we don't have that in our buildings currently. So I think that those are a couple of things in my eyes. And the other thing is that kids have, kids have phones. Kids have access to the internet. And the internet's got way more stuff on there than some of these books that we're talking about. So I think that's the other thing that we have to take in mind as well, is that when we're talking about a paperback book, a kid gets a hold of a tablet, they can find some stuff as well. So I think it's all about how we parent individually and what we do with our kids and what how we continue to teach them and keep them safe.
I forgot one thing, can I add? If I were a parent of a high school student right now, which I'm not, all my kids have graduated, but I have grandkids coming up, I'd be more concerned about TikTok than I would about banning books.
Sorry. This next question will be for Mr. Bowers. There have been several concerning incidents across the district this year. If elected, how will you work with communication to minimize tensions between parents and school authorities about issues regarding student safety?
This is a great question. I do think that the Kearney district did drop the ball a few times getting information out whenever things happened at the school. I feel like when we shut the doors to the parents at the meetings, that was a big no-no as well. I just full-heartedly believe that we need to be a bridge between the district and the parents. There should be 100% open communication lines between us, and I just think that just being truthful and being honest up front is the best way to go about it.
I think it goes both ways. So if the parents come to a school board meeting and they can't be respectful and be kind and be professional, what are we teaching our kids? If I'm at a school board meeting screaming at people or treating people disrespectfully, I'm teaching my kids that. And it starts there. It starts at the home. Most of the stuff that we're talking about starts at home. We can blame the teachers, we can blame the superintendents, we can blame everybody in the school district, but it starts at home. My kids know what's right and wrong. I'm not perfect, nor are they, but it starts at home, and we have to model and be an example. I felt like the school did a decent job in communicating with regard to different incidents, at least from the school that my kids are in, with the texts. Sometimes I got multiple texts and emails, and my phone was blowing up, but I felt like they did a decent job of doing that, and I also trust that they responded well. I mean, if there was a threat or an issue, they seem to do a good job of isolating it, taking care of it, and treating it, and understanding that it could be serious. So I don't think we should have closed the doors at the school board meeting, but if we can't maintain civilian, if we can't be respectful and kind, then you have to do something, and the board has to conduct the board meeting, and sometimes, I don't know, maybe you have to have a special meeting for the parents to talk.
Yeah, I'll echo again. I think it's very important, is the word I'm going to use is transparent. I think if us as board members, if elected, and parents come to us with concerns, maybe we need to look at policy and make sure we change some things in policies, the way we run board meetings, and make sure that the parents know they're being heard and respond back to those parents and let them know we hear their concerns, we're looking into them concerns, and then getting back to them with answers, like I said, either right or wrong. Let them know that we're accountable for the things that may have happened, or we're going to take care of it this way, and we have policy that can take care of that. I think it's very important that we have that open door policy with the parents to make them feel comfortable that their kids will be safe here at Kearney School.
If I can take it to the classroom, in order for learning to exist, you have to feel safe. Kids have to feel safe. I'm sure that everyone in that meeting who's there volunteering their time would like to feel safe as well. And I think we all need to remember that there are bits and pieces of every story or incident that need to be protected. There are portions that need to be protected. FERPA and HEPA keep us from maybe divulging all the details of every incident to a parent to protect that child that's involved. And that's important.
I think you should read the question one more time. I want to make sure I'm going the right direction on this.
There have been several concerning incidents across the district this year. If elected, how will you work with communication to minimize tensions between parents and school authorities about issues regarding student safety?
Student safety. Okay, so we've had, I just love Facebook. I'll just say it that way. There's been some stories that have come out on Facebook that didn't have any truth to them, and that's just the facts. And then there are some stories that when we follow protocol, which I think we do a very good job of, where there is a threat in a building, the principal notifies and does the proper protocols of emailing and sending out mass text and voicemails. So I think that some of our problems are, where do we get our information? And if you're going to get information from the school district, it's going to be via email, it's going to be via text, it's going to be via voicemail, if there is a threat as far as student safety as far as student safety goes. As far as, and I'm going to say, I think that the high school has done a good job of that. I think the junior high, I think every building, if they've had an issue, has done a great job, all principals involved. So I think that that's the big thing to me. As far as the school board meetings and sitting in on those, and you talk about safety, there were a couple times where, not saying that it was the most pleasant, and wasn't a little nervous for some of our board members. And so I don't think that as a servant leader, that's how you build bridges. And I also will say that I spend a lot of time after board meetings. Board meetings get over at 8:30, and I don't walk in the door to see my wife and 2 kids until 10:30 because I make myself available. So I think that that's something that I know I do.
I have watched a couple of these experiences go out through mass texts and emails, and I thought, okay, that was good information to know. I'm glad to know that you're on top of that, whatever principal it was that I received the text from. And then I go on social media and I'm like, this isn't anywhere near what I got from the principal. And that's because social media tends to embellish. And when you take out that factor, I think our kids are a lot safer than some people think they are, because they're, like Ken said, not getting their information from the source. When you get your information from the source, it seems to be a lot less scary. I don't think our kids have been in any situation where they weren't safe and protected. I've talked with multiple principals over the last couple months, and as soon as they know that there's an issue, they are on top of it. and doing everything they can to keep our kids safe. And if you take out social media, life's a lot simpler.
For this next question, we will start with Mr. Brock. While Kearney School District is working to help kids with mental health issues, many students don't feel comfortable talking to their teachers and counselors due to lack of knowledge in the situation. How will you help create welcoming and understanding environments for students to share their thoughts?
I think, honestly, that's going to have to start at the school level with administration and teachers, making sure that the students are comfortable coming and talking with them about any situation. I think and I'm going to digress a little bit, but as far as the bullying and the social media, I think what Lynn said about that is, I think we've got to make sure as a community we're getting our information directly from the schools, and make sure that, because a lot of times you see something on social media about a kid streaking across the football field, and we find out that the kid had clothes on. So, I think a lot of things get embellished, and it's not necessarily what actually happened. So, I think, but we have to make it a safe environment for the teachers. Have to make it a safe environment for all of the students to come and be able to share their thoughts and what they're concerns about. And the students also need to be able to stand up for other students when there's bullying or things going on that, that's just not right.
I agree with Rocky where it said it should start with the principals, the counselors, the teachers first. And I know when we talked in the DEI task force meetings, I don't know if we have this now. I know we're looking into this of having another safe person in these schools. So these kids will have someone that they can go to and talk with. And that's what's most important, and that those guys all work together to make sure that student feels safe and take care of, and if there's an issue, to make sure those issues are taken care of. But having everyone on board throughout the school district and make sure we're handling those issues.
As a teacher, this is always important. It's always been important to develop relationships with your kids. Classrooms can become like little teams, and that teacher is the coach, and we all work hard every day to build trust with our kids, to let them know that we're there for them in any kind of situation. I think it's important that we work together as a community and support those teachers who are leading the way in this.
I think that our counselors have programs like the suicide prevention number at the bottom of every one of their cards. And I think that that's one of the programs that we kind of implement, as well as we do a program, and I don't want to misquote this, but I know we do a signs of suicide for our students. I know the parents can opt out of that for their student, but it's something that we can show other students so that they have signs of suicide, they can report that, and that would give that kid that maybe isn't really ready to talk to that teacher or really ready to talk to that administrator, maybe another student can be the person that goes, this person's showing signs, and then we can intervene and we can help out in that way with our counselors. And I think that that's maybe one of the programs that can help. But there's obviously, the more we can do to help our kids in their mental health post-pandemic, I'm all for.
If you would have asked this question 2 years ago, you would have gotten very different answers than what you're getting today. Our world has changed so much that it is needed. Mental health and the acceptance of somebody saying, I need help, is so much greater. Mental health is very near and dear to my heart. I've lost family members, and my own kids have really struggled, a couple of them over the last 2 years. And when my one child came to me and said, I need help, we immediately helped. And I think anybody in that situation, if you can say they need help, you're going to jump, and everybody is going to do whatever they can to help. And we need to have those safeguards in place so that we know what to look for. The signs of suicide is a good one. Having open communication with teachers and peers so that you can say, hey, you know, are you having a bad day, or is it something more than that? We all have bad days, but mental health issues have greatly increased over the last 2 years, and our acceptance of them needs to also increase.
I agree with Mrs. Mack. Mental issues are at an all-time high with kids across the country. There's no doubt about that. I think it does start at the school level. Teachers and principals and even the other staff, you know, I mean, being a janitor, if you see a kid in the hall, I mean, speak up and tell somebody that, hey, I saw this kid having some problems over here, somebody should probably check on him. It would start with teachers that are personable. I know getting great educators is a good thing, but having a teacher that can relate to kids is 100% one of the top things that I would look for. Looking for signs of kids who are having troubles. That's something else that I think a lot of people tend to ignore. A lot of people don't like to deal with mental health or just act like it isn't a real thing, but it is very much so a real thing. And I would also add on top of that, talk to your kids about their friends. No one knows your kid better besides yourself than their best friends. They're together all the time. They talk all the time. Like when my kid comes home from school, ask him how his day was, and then I just ask him, you know, hey, what did so-and-so do today at recess, or how did you talk to so-and-so at class today? I think talking to your kids about their friends is a good step towards fixing the mental issues as well.
This next question will be the final question asked tonight. The question is, what separates you from the other candidates and or board members? We'll start with Mr. Broughton. Your time is yours.
That's kind of a hard question because I think I know maybe one person on this board that I kind of know. But what separates me is what you see is kind of what you get. I have two things that are very important is my ear. I'm going to listen, and I'm going to respond, and I'm going to let you know. I'm going to get back to you when you have a question or you have a concern. And I stand for the freedoms that we have in this country, and I want to make sure that our parents and students don't get those freedoms taken away in any way by certain things that may happen in a school. And I think I'm the right person that can serve this community, and I believe, like I said, I'm going to be a voice for the parents, I'm going to be a voice for the staff, I'm going to be a voice for the students, and hopefully I get that opportunity.
I'd like to say I believe nearly 3 decades in the trenches. I was a teacher, and I look at things a lot of times from their perspective. I do have 4 college degrees, which is not unusual for a teacher. Everybody knows in order to go up on the pay scale, you have to keep going back to school. My master's degree is in curriculum, and I'm passionate about I was passionate about writing lesson plans that integrated other subjects into the curriculum. And I have a desire to give back. I always have, from being a Girl Scout leader to being a CASA. And like I said before, it's a way for me to connect to the kids again and give back to the kids. The kids are my reason.
Well, I have 1 degree, so it's a lot. I would say that my number 1, I mean, I wrote down a lot of different things here, but I think the thing that I really feel I bring to the table is I am a servant leader, and I think coming with being a servant leader is a person that likes to unify a community and try to get everybody to work together. And in doing that, you have to be a good listener. And you have to be willing to stay after board meetings and talk to people and understand that they may not like the decision you just made, but you have to let them be heard. And I think that that's some of the things that I personally have learned in the last 2 years, is that it's easy to let someone talk when you're ready to talk back. It's a lot harder to listen and really listen so that you understand what they're saying. That doesn't mean that you're necessarily going to vote the way they want you to vote, but they're at least feeling like they're heard. And I think that's some of the things that I know would play into my experience. And having, the years I have on the board that have really helped me and really mold me as a person, and really, I've really learned a lot about myself on the board, and how to work with people of every diverse background. And I'm very proud of that. And I think that the last thing that I think separates me is I'm vested. I've got 2 kids in elementary. I've got a sister who teaches. I've got
Mr.
nieces and nephews. And I'm done.
Sorry.
What separates me? One of the things that I have had the advantage of that others have not had is I have witnessed 8 different school districts as my children have gone to school. And I've seen the good and the bad. Kearney is right up there with the good, and I'm very grateful for that. But I've seen a lot of what works and what doesn't. Another thing is I've worked on a lot of different boards, a lot of different community things, and I've learned to work with a lot of different variety of people and listening to everybody's point of view and then making my decision. Not going in beforehand saying, this is my decision, no matter what you say. I'm going to listen, but I'm not going to change. I'm going to listen, and if I learn something that prompts me to change my decision, I will. Also, I'm a mom. I have 5 more years of kids in schools, in public schools, and not only that, but I hope to someday be a grandparent. And I want our public school systems, not just here in Kearney, but across the United States, to continue to grow and to be good places for our children to learn and to grow.
I think what separates me is, I was going to say bald, but these 2 gentlemen visited the same barber that I did, didn't you? No, I've got, next year my boys are going to be in 5th grade and kindergarten. So I am in this for the long run. I see myself wanting to be in their education, throughout their tenure at the Kearney district. I live in Kearney, I work in Kearney, I shop in Kearney. I do everything in Kearney, maybe because gas prices are so damn high, but that's another situation. I'm here as a parent. I feel like I relate to parents. I would say issues, but also their praises for the district. I just feel like I'm someone who can relate to a lot of things that go on around here. And I just wanted to put my hat in the ring and give this thing a shot.
Well, I think I started with this, but I would say that I'm a consumer of the Kearney schools. Having 5 kids and having kids in the Kearney schools since 1997 continuously, I've probably, I don't know if that's good or bad, but I've experienced a lot with Kearney schools. My 3 older girls graduated in 10, 12, and 13. 2 of them now have master's degrees. They were very well prepared coming out of Kearney schools, and I was thankful for that. I think one of the things that I would try to bring to the board would be humility, respect, kindness. I would try to treat everybody with the same, basically treat people the way that I want to be treated. I had a board member that reached out to me early on when I signed up. We sat down and had coffee, and we didn't see eye to eye on everything. But that person told me why they voted for certain things and explained their position, and I understood I understood their position. And then they said, well, how would you have done? How would you have voted on that? And I said, I don't believe I would have voted the same way, but I still respected the person. I mean, we left there. When we left, they asked me if they could give me a hug, which I was thankful for, because if you treat people with respect and kindness, I think we can get a lot more done and remain professional throughout the whole process.
We would once again like to thank all of the audience members, board candidates, and staff members that have made this event possible. We hope that the information presented here will allow all voters to make an informed decision on Election Day. We also would like to remind all audience members that Election Day is Tuesday, April 5th, and we encourage each of you to vote. This meeting has also been recorded, and there will be a link uploaded to YouTube by tomorrow afternoon. Thank you.
I'd like to